All right, plenty of other issues around, some budget, some otherwise. Let's bring in my panel now. Liberal Senator for South Australia, Alex Antic, and LNP MP, the wonderful Phil Thompson. Gents, welcome. I want to make the point for people at home. The Prime Minister and the Treasurer, they've been on the taxpayer teat most of their working lives, right? All the way through from university, just out of university until now. The cars they drive, taxpayers pay for them. The petrol that goes in those cars, taxpayers. They're on planes that taxpayers pay for. Even the pen in their hand and the coffee they have in the morning, that's all on the taxpayer. Now, these clowns do not live in the real world. So Alex, I can't tell you the number of people who said to me today, given the fact my mortgage has gone up by $50,000 a year, to try and tell me, you know, you're hearing I've got cost of living pain by giving me a 70 cents a day tax cut, that's insulting.
Yeah, Peter, it really is. It's a hoax. It's a fake tax cut, and there's no question about that at all. I was trying to turn my mind to what 70 cents would buy you. When I was a boy, to buy you a pie. These days, it's not even going to buy you the sauce that goes on top of the pie. So this is just ridiculous. It's laughable, and you're absolutely right. I mean, these are the sort of decisions that are made by people who are living in an ivory tower, which is very evident as a result of this. We've got a genuine cost of living crisis out there. We've got people who are doing it tough. We've got insurance costs up 30%, gas prices up 30%, food prices up a similar sort of amount, and 70 cents is all the Australian people are getting. It's just almost tragically laughable.
Phil, you were in the real world before you came into politics, right? And you live in Townsville. Townsville's still the real world. This is not going to go down well in a seat like yours.
No, absolutely not. And Alex is right. We're talking about maybe $5 a week. That doesn't even get you a coffee. You might get a McFlurry from Macca's, but that doesn't go anywhere near where it needs to go for the cost of living crisis that we're facing. Now, if you cast your mind back 3 years ago, we had the Prime Minister and the Treasurer beating the drum, hitting their chest saying, "You'll be better under us, we know what to do." It's not true. They're not in the real world. They don't go out. They don't go out to the regions where things hit hard, and they hit harder in places like Townsville in regional Australia. And there's no cost of living relief, and this will hurt us, and it'll hurt us going forward. And I think people see that.
Let's go to your chamber today, Alex, the Senate. We saw Sarah Hanson-Young with a stunt and a fish today. And we know that there are real jobs in the salmon industry in Tasmania, in particular in jeopardy, a massive export income earner too for Australia. But it's a stunt if you listen to the Greens. Have a look.
For a rotten, stinking extinction salmon. Extinction salmon.
I mean, these guys will hold the whip hand if there's a minority government, because the Greens are never going to deal with the coalition. They'll always go with Labor. I mean, she could end up being the Environment Minister, God help us.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, this is potentially Labor's coalition partner in a new minority government. It's a frightening thought, Peter, and there is some irony, I think, in holding up a dead fish in order to make the point about dead fish. I mean, it sort of struck me as being particularly odd. I don't think it went down particularly well, but we're seeing a lot of that this week. We're seeing a lot of attempts at grabbing headlines with these sorts of incidents. Ultimately, though, this is an omen for the future for the people of Australia. If we get a minority Labor government, it's going to get worse and worse, and that may only be the beginning of things that are to come. Can look at all sorts of things like inheritance taxes, death taxes. It'll all be on the table, guaranteed.
Yeah, the culture wars will be absolutely on steroids. I want to play something for people at home. This morning, there was yet another bizarre meltdown for Jackie Lambie on morning TV. She was attacking Jane Hume. It was an irrational rant. Have a listen.
You took a lot of my mates out over that 9 years, and you spent $20 billion of taxpayers' money to consultancy firms. Are we going back to those days, Jane? Because veterans want to know that this morning. Are you going back and moving those public servants who are finally finding their seat over such complex medical issues? Are you going to cut the guts out of DVA?
Jackie, I have absolutely no
and are
idea
you
what it
going
is
to
you're talking
contract
about.
that out again?
Now, That's how she behaved in the morning last night. She was supposed to be looking at scrutinising Labor's budget. She launched into another rant about Peter Dutton. I mean, Phil, I know you've been an advocate for veterans as long and as hard fighting for their needs as she has. You both worn the uniform. You don't behave like that. I mean, she does this every time the election comes around. She's shameless. It's all about pulling in votes. I just think she's a shocker.
I watched this a few times. I've carried coffins of friends of mine who have succumbed to their wall within and have died by suicide. I've attended more funerals than I would ever thought I would have at the age of 36. And it is extremely personal to me. And I've stood up in Parliament and I've spoken about this and I've shed tears for those who have paid the ultimate sacrifice in war, but also back here on home soil. Now, there will be no frontline public service employees that would lose their job. There won't be in the Department of Veterans Affairs at all, because those frontline workers are processing claims and helping people and making sure that the Department of Veterans Affairs and the claims that have been put in by our most bravest, they get the support they needed. Now, I don't think anyone would be surprised to think that the Department of Veterans Affairs does need government oversight. It does. It's a basket case and it does need government to be looking into it. But the frontline workers, we need them. We need them to do their job. But when it comes to the people in Canberra, the people in the back room, the people who don't get out in the regions, the people that couldn't spell veteran, that sit in the dark corner, yeah, we're looking at what you're doing because we want productivity. We want things moving in the right direction and we don't want to be burying any more of our most bravest.
Powerfully said, and you know, I think Australians can look at you, they can look at Andrew Hastie, they can look at the other servicemen and women on your front line in the Parliament and know that you mean what you say, and that histrionics this morning from Jackie Lambie, we'll see that for what it is. Hey, your Avalon Air show, the motley crew, you know, they're all out there again. I saw footage today of someone with a keffiyeh and a mask and a cap, all deliberately trying to hide their face, spewing out their venom on camera. Alex, this goes around the world. They don't know who on earth they're fighting for. They are just Marxist activists, in my view.
Yeah, look, I mean, we've seen so much of this over the last couple of years that, you know, we're almost, you know, I think getting sort of used to it, sadly. But this air show will go on. Of course it will. But unfortunately, people, of course, have a right to protest, I should say. There's no problem with that. Let's just hope that it's well behaved, it's well mannered, and they allow people to talk about issues like defence, which, of course, is so critical to our future sovereign needs. So, I mean, let's just hope it doesn't get out of hand. I'm sure the police have got it in control.
They're grubs. Grubs.
Yeah, they are, Phil. They absolutely are. And, you know, we all want the military hardware should the worst ever happen, and we need to defend our country and our values, as you have with the uniform. Thank you both, gents.